evening and welcome into Sportszone. I'm your host, Justin Ballou. With the Mean Green football team on bye week this week, it's time for us to take a look at the best and the worst uniforms in all of Mean Green sports. Here to help me do so, we have analysts Mackenzie Freeman and Brandon Brown. Guys, it's a great time right now. Football is in first place in CUSA. I love it. They're 3-3, 2-0 in conference play. I love it. So let's take a break. Let's look across all of sports, your best and your worst uniforms. So let's start at the bottom here and build our way up to the best. So Mackenzie, start us off with your worst UNT uniform.
I think the worst jersey by far has to be the UNT green softball jerseys. Now they're kind of basic. They don't have numbers on the front. You know, most UNT jerseys have some sort of flair to them, but with these softball jerseys, I really just don't think there's any part.
Yeah, they don't have numbers on the front. They have white helmets to go with it, so it just looks kind of like a weird color combination going there. Brandon, what is your worst uniform?
All right, this uniform's from 2017. Get ready. It's a chrome helmet with green markings. That's already a bad start. A white jersey and black pants with accents of green on the jersey and pants. It looks like some sort of weird Oakland Raiders gone wrong. Like, it looks like a regurgitation of just, like, everybody got a designer input on this uniform. It looks awful. Just way too much going on here.
The football team has way too much going on with these uniforms. I mean, I like these new helmets that they had last weekend, but yeah, they just keep releasing way too many new uniforms. Mackenzie, what is your best uniform?
My best jersey has to be the Hayden Fry throwback jerseys that they wore in September 2021. It was the first UNT game I went to, and I remember thinking these were the most unique jerseys I've seen. You know, the lime green helmet, the clean white, it just tied everything together, and it was a tribute to a great coach, so that was an added plus.
Yeah, I feel like all white's always a clean look. The flying worm is probably one of the best logos in North Texas history for sure. Brandon, what do you got for us? What's your best uniform?
I love the all green soccer uniforms for women's soccer. They have like a white stripe on the side, little accents of white here and there, and just that all green look that really screams North Texas to me. I think it's kind of simple, but I think that really works in its favor. It looks super clean.
Yeah, and the soccer team has obviously had a lot of success in those uniforms over the last few years, so those are definitely great. I also had another soccer uniform that I was looking at. This is my worst though. This green and white striped uniform that they wear. I mean, this looks like something out of a correctional facility for women. I mean, look at these things. Like, they got the short shorts going with it, so you got a lot just going on there. Too many stripes going on, too many colors. I like the socks with it, but I mean, that's a lot of stripes going on.
Yeah, they're definitely not my favorite either. Yeah. I would have picked them, but you already took that, so.
Well, my bad there. What's your best uniform, Brandon?
Okay, the best one I've ever seen is actually the esports uniform. I think asymmetry works perfect for these uniforms. You've got the eagle on the shoulder, the esports logo on the other kind of area right here, and they just look really clean. It's really kind of simple, but it works really well for this team.
I love that you took a different approach here, going away from the NCAA level and looking down to the esports level. Those jerseys are really clean, though. I definitely like to look at those. My best uniform, I mean, the all-black basketball uniforms for both men's and women's. I mean, I took the men's one just because it says North Texas on it, but these are the throwback ones that they're showing right now with JV and Hamlet, but the ones now say North Texas across. Either way, the black with the green letters, I think, is the best combination that we can possibly use. What frustrates me is they only wear them once or twice every year. And I think there's some rule where they can't wear black at home or something that I heard through athletics. And I'm like, that's bad because we could do a blackout game in the arena. But those jerseys are really clean. They always win in them. Tyler Perry had those 2 buzzer beaters last year against UAB and La Tech in those jerseys. So great success, a great look. They need to wear them more, though.
Lucky jerseys.
Yeah, they definitely are. What other jerseys do you guys like?
I really like the current whiteout volleyball jerseys, and I'm really a fan of the whiteout jerseys. And then they have the green ombre on the arm that really matches the spandex. And I think it's a really clean look. And for a volleyball team, sometimes jerseys are super basic, but these have a little bit of flair and pizzazz to them.
I like the general theme of North Texas sports being sort of laid back with the uniforms. I mean, football's going all out, just releasing every possible uniform combination they can. But for the most part, the other sports seem to keep it consistent. Obviously, basketball this season came out with the new uniform. So what sport, I mean, pick a sport. What is your favorite sport to watch just uniform-wise? For me, it would be football just because they keep releasing too much, but which sport has your favorite uniforms?
Football's fun because it's like seeing a Zeppelin go down in flames, but for uniforms, I gotta go basketball, especially when they're wearing those green and gray uniforms. I think those look so clean. They almost give me like Celtics vibes, and they just have like overall probably the cleanest array of uniforms.
Now, quick take on the pink women's basketball uniforms, because this is one that's sort of debated. What do you guys think of those?
I mean, it represents a good cause.
Right, that's
like,
true.
it doesn't have to be the prettiest jersey.
Right.
I think it's the meaning behind it that really counts.
Well, always fun to take a look at uniforms. You know who has really good uniforms? The Dallas Cowboys, and they just keep winning football games. Stay with us for more for a preview of this weekend's matchup against the Los Angeles Rams.
Tira la basura en el bote. En el bote, en el bote, en el bote. Oiga mi amigo, Don Messi, Texas. Oiga mi amigo, Don Messi, Texas. Tira la basura en el bote. En el bote, en el bote, en el bote. Tira la basura en el bote. En el bote, en el bote, en el bote. Somos papichulos, recuerden, Don Messi, Texas, y'all.
Azalea is my world. When I heard that she had a tumor, everything just became dark. When I came to St. Jude, I started to get back some light in my life.
On top of first class, best care, you will never receive a bill, so that you can zoom in and just focus on this child. The only thing we had to worry about was just keeping Azalea comfortable. St. Jude saved her life, and it saved us as a family.
The American Red Cross needs your help to install 100,000 free smoke alarms nationwide. Join us April 27th to May 12th. Volunteer at soundthealarm.org.
Welcome back in the Sports Zone. Well, it is an exciting time here in Dallas-Fort Worth because the Dallas Cowboys just continue to win football games with Cooper Rush at quarterback. After a 25-10 win last weekend over the Washington Commanders, the Cowboys head to LA this weekend to SoFi Stadium to take on the LA Rams. Here to preview this weekend's big matchup, we have Fazan Amer and Drew Maurer. Guys, I mentioned the Washington game, another big win, another just gritty win. They got it done, 25-10 the final there. Give me your thoughts on 3-1 now for the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, it's really started on the defensive end of the football. The way Dan Quinn has this Dallas Cowboys defense firing on all cylinders through the first 4 weeks has been remarkable. Week 1, 19 points. Week 2, 17 points. Week 3, 16 points. And Week 4, just now this Sunday against the Commanders, they only allowed 10 points. First time since 1973, the Dallas Cowboys allowed 19 points or fewer in each of the first 4 games. And if you really take a step back and kind of dissect who the quarterbacks have been, it's been Tom Brady week 1, Joe Burrow week 2, Daniel Jones and the Giants 3-1 week 3, and just now Carson Wentz week 4. And you see all of these 4 starting quarterbacks have combined for a 61% passing against this Dallas Cowboys defense with 777 yards, 3 TDs, and 4 interceptions to tag along with 15 sacks. I mean, this Dallas Cowboys defense is on its way to a historic season if this continues.
And they're legit. And I want to point out some players. You said the defense overall, but specifically players. Micah Parsons looks like the defensive player of the year at this current moment.
No doubt.
4 sacks, 13 tackles, and 22 total pressures when lined up from the pass rush position in the first 4 games. And that's only 135 of his 250-ish snaps. And he goes into coverage, too, and he plays a good job. Trayvon Diggs also was a monster this weekend. Multiple pass breakups and interceptions. He just looks like he's turning into the form of the lockdown corner we thought he would be. Obviously, he's been criticized for his coverage, but it's definitely he's tightening it up, and he's getting those turnovers that he's known for. So Trayvon Diggs is stepping up. Micah Parsons is developing into what we thought he would be. And they're definitely holding down this Cowboys defense.
Yeah, the defense is certainly becoming one of the best units in the entire league. I don't think that's in question at all here. And they've really stepped up these past few weeks with Cooper Rush, too.
Yeah.
So let's talk quarterback now because obviously this is the talk around town. Cooper Rush now going into his 4th start, we assume this weekend against LA. So the consensus seems to be that we want Dak to get fully healthy before the Cowboys bring him back in. Just let Cooper Rush keep steering the ship until he gets back. Let the defense, keep eating like they've been. So do they need Dak back to win these next 2 games? Next 2 games, really tough road games, Rams and Eagles. So do they need Dak to win?
No, keep Dak out. Keep Dak out. Cooper Rush hasn't been great, sure. 61%, 60.8% completion. No passes over 50 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a couple of interceptions that were brought back. He hasn't been great, but he's been good enough. And the defense is playing at a level to where Cooper Rush doesn't have to be the MVP of the league for the Cowboys to win games. The Rams are they're forcing they're giving up turnovers, and the Cowboys defense is forcing turnovers. That's definitely going to be an equation and a solution. The solution is going to be the Cowboys can pull a win out of this game if their defense steps up. Rush doesn't have to be the guy for the Cowboys to win this game. Keep Dak out. We've seen Dak come back too early and struggle. So keep Dak out. Let Rush cook. And
love it.
And I think the Cowboys could pull out a win in this game if they really can bolster down.
You're talking about the 61% completion percentage, which I understand it doesn't look good at all.
It doesn't.
But he's never thrown for over 50 yards. But when you're bringing in Cooper Rush at quarterback, you're not expecting 61%. You're not expecting over 50.
Right.
He is doing a great job being Cooper Rush, being who he is in his own skin. Yeah. And when he has to be that guy, and what I mean by that is when a quarterback has to throw for over 10 pass air yards. When he did that this Sunday against the Commanders, he attempted it 8 times. He completed it 5 times for 2 TDs and 166 yards. A CPOE, which is completion percentage over adjusted, he's the 2nd-ranked quarterback in the NFL when it comes to that. So I feel like Cooper Rush is doing a great job, and I agree with what you're saying. If Dak isn't healthy, if he's not extremely 100%, there's no reason to put him back under center.
And the NFC East has certainly overperformed so far through 4 weeks.
Absolutely.
The Eagles are 4-0. Giants are 3-1. No one really saw that coming. So with that being the case, obviously the Cowboys sitting at 3-1 as well, right in that division mix. How big of a game is it this weekend to get this win against LA?
I mean, it's a really big game, but a loss isn't too terribly significant. The Cowboys sit at 3-1, and they're 2nd in their division, tied with New York. And a loss here would put them at 3-2 with Dak coming back with an easier stretch besides Philadelphia in the next few weeks. With Dak coming back, they could be set up to win a lot of games. So it's not too big of a deal if they do drop this game because it's the Rams, the reigning Super Bowl champs. Right. But a win is possible. Like I said earlier, they're forcing turnovers, and the Rams are giving them up. Stafford's attributed to 6 of those 9 turnovers that I mentioned. So the Cowboys can absolutely win this game, but if they do end up dropping it for the Cooper Rush being in and having a back quarterback, that leads to some concern at times. I mean, a loss isn't too detrimental.
It's important to hone in on the fact the Rams have played 9 offensive linemen in the past 4 games.
Yeah.
So, and it's certainly a big mismatch because the Cowboys pass rush and the Rams pass protection have been equally opposites of each other.
Well, it's the Cowboys and the defending Super Bowl champion LA Rams this Sunday at SoFi Stadium at 3:25, the national game of the week on Fox. So make sure to catch that one. Stay with us through the break. We're going to talk about the Dallas Stars offseason.
It started with the original care package and millions more like it. Passed from hand to hand, across land and sea, to help survivors in the aftermath of war. As we grew, we found better ways to help those in need. Ways to make a real difference, not just today, but tomorrow as well. Be the difference in people's lives. Help deliver lasting change at care.org.
There. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy.
What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Can I tell you another one? So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it.
What's Beethoven's favorite fruit? Banana. What is a boxer's favorite drink? Fruit punch.
Welcome back into Sportszone. The puck drops for a brand new season of NHL hockey next Thursday, and boy was it a wild offseason for the Dallas Stars. Here to break it all down, we have analysts Matthew Wagner and Brandon Brunworth. So guys, obviously the first big move that went down for this team was the head coaching move, with Rick Bowness stepping down as head coach, and in steps Pete DeBoer, the former coach of the Vegas Golden Knights, who, by the way, the Stars beat in the playoffs multiple times. So some stuff going on there. But what do you think of the hire of Pete DeBoer, and how do you think it changes the outlook of this season, Matthew?
I liked it because he was a coach that, you know, when we stepped down, right? When Bowness stepped down, I thought that he's an offensive-minded coach. The Stars need more offense. So bringing him in really helps this club, and it really helps the outlook on the Stars this season.
What do you think of the move, Brandon?
I mean, I love that they got somebody with playoff experience that was able to get an expansion team to believe that they could really go far in the playoffs, and besides last year, get there consistently every single year.
Yeah, he definitely has a good track record, too. He took Vegas to the playoffs basically every season he was there, to the conference finals as well when they lost to the Stars, and to the Stanley Cup finals as well when they lost to the Capitals. So pretty good resume coming into Dallas now. But let's talk about these player offseason moves, because this culminated last night with the signing of Jason Robertson. But
thank you.
So much is going on this Stars offseason. Let's just take a look at all these moves that went down. The big one that we're going to talk about first is Jake Ottinger, who the Stars re-signed this offseason for 3 more years. One of the best goalies in the league, at least in my opinion. What do you think of that take? How good of a goalie is Jake Ottinger, and how important was this move, Matthew?
This was hugely important for the Stars because Jake Ottinger is a goaltender that we saw against Calgary. He carried them on his back, literally, almost won them the series, right? And I watched him in college. He was just as good at college as he is now. So this is a huge move for the Stars. They needed to get this done, and that in itself is so good for the Stars.
They were really quick to get that move done. Not so much with Jason Robertson, but what did you think of the goalie signing, Brandon?
I mean, you just look at the stats to see how important it was that they brought him back. You know, 30-15 in one record just last year with the Stars, and that's starting in the minors. And then also 64 saves in Game 7. I mean, you see that you don't move on without that happening. You get to the second round. I mean, he was just essential.
And it was really impressive for him to even win the job last year with a goalie room of Ben Bishop, Anton Udobin, and some young guys as well at the Texas Stars level. So is it safe to say that Jake Ottinger, obviously still being a young player, is it safe to say that he's one of the best goalies in the league?
Yeah, right now, because he's still young, right? Look at his record last year, as Brandon mentioned, and it's so obvious that the fact that he's going to be, if not elite, he probably won't be on the same level of Andre Vasilevsky in Tampa Bay, but he'll be, in that echelon of high-tier goaltenders for sure. And he's only 23, so he's got room to grow and room to improve.
Yeah, it definitely does. And obviously, the other big move just happened last night when the Stars finally re-signed Jason Robertson to a 4-year, $31 million deal, which is good for $7.75 million a year. So my first question, guys, why did this take so long? I mean, this was frustrating that they would not re-sign him this whole offseason.
As a Stars fan, yes, it is, for sure. It's frustrating, but I understand why they took so long. Because, Jason had a great year, right? And he showed that he deserves to be paid a high value. And the Stars seemed to not want to do that because they said he hadn't proven himself. I mean, look at the season, though. He did prove himself, right? I mean, it's so obvious that he did. And I think that going forward, though, this is such a smart contract for him because after his contract is up, right, he's going to be wanting $8-9 million if the contract performs. And the salary cap is expected to rise $10 million within that year. So they're definitely a big move for them, and I'm happy they got it done.
So, Brandon, how big of a role do you think the contract negotiations played in
I mean,
delaying
stuff.
this?
We could sit here and debate over and over again about what we think happened behind closed doors, but we just know there was a problem. And they finally got it solved last night.
Yeah.
That's the information I care about because when you have a guy that joins Mike Modano, Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, it's the only 40 goal scorers in Dallas Stars history. I mean, you can't let that guy go.
No, you cannot.
I'm just happy it's done.
So now with him being re-signed, obviously one of the best young players in the league, along with Jake Ottinger, this roster has just a ton of young players. Really good sign there. How does this move now change the outlook of the Stars season?
It definitely improves their forward core, right? I mean, he was the main reason why they were such an offensive force last year, along with Pavelski and Hintz. I can see him having another 40-goal season, another 100-point season if that becomes a thing, right? So I like that, and they keep pairing them together. that line is going to be one of the deadliest combinations in the NHL.
Yeah, he's certainly putting himself on the map as one of the best young players in the league, that's for sure. And the goal scoring's there, the defense is there. He's just the complete package, and thank goodness they finally got this move done.
For sure.
The two other guys you saw on that graphic there that they signed too, Mason Marchment and Colin Miller. Colin Miller. So how do you guys think overall the Stars are how different they're going to look this season? Obviously signing Robertson was huge, but just overall team outlook.
Mason Marchment's a great player, right? Looked at him in Florida, right? He had 47 points in 54 games, right? And some people are saying that's because he was in Florida. No, that's not true. I mean, I liked him. And his dad was an NHLer as well, long-time NHLer. Loved it, and I think he's going to have a huge impact on the Stars.
Well, the Stars will get going next Thursday against Nashville, but stay with us to next week as we're going to have a whole preview of the upcoming season. But stay with us through the break. We're going to cover the upcoming MLB postseason. Exciting times here in October.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community make it through, whatever the day may bring. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need them most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up now. Let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back into Sportszone. Postseason baseball is finally back tomorrow as October gets in full swing. Here to preview everything MLB postseason, we have analysts Brendan O'Donnell and Alex Weister. So guys, we've got a loaded wild card slate. This is the first year that we have seven teams from both the AL and NL. Finally a wild card round. You don't have one game to lose your season after playing 162 games. So love that. The wild card matchups, we've got Cleveland, Tampa Bay, we've got Toronto, Seattle, two really young teams there, St. Louis, Philadelphia, and Mets, Padres. So lots of good teams in this race, lots of young teams, lots of exciting teams. So Brendan, which of these matchups excites you the most going into wildcard weekend?
I think I'm going to go with those young teams that you were talking about. It's the Mariners versus the Blue Jays, two of the youngest teams in the league with just some stars everywhere. I mean, we've got Julio Rodriguez, definitely Rookie of the Year. I mean, the betting odds for him are insane. I think it's minus 7,000 right now. And then we look at the Blue Jays as well with just some crazy 23-year-old hitters, Alejandro Kirk and Vladimir Guerrero. I think this is going to be an explosive matchup. Neither team is talented enough to go all the way, but if you just want to watch a game for a weekend, this is the games to watch.
And how about the Mariners breaking the longest postseason drought in all of pro sports this year, finally getting it done, and Toronto always has a great environment for postseason baseball, so that one should be a lot of fun. Alex, which match are you most excited for?
I have the other AL matchup with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cleveland Guardians. Both of these teams also have young talent as well, but it's mainly the pitching staffs for these teams. Both of them have incredible aces, and not only that, but their batting lineups are pretty good as well. And I think that could lead up to a really good matchup that we see. And I could ultimately see an upset with Tampa Bay beating Cleveland in that series.
And that's going to be the first game tomorrow that gets us going at 11 o'clock Central Time, obviously 12 o'clock in Cleveland tomorrow. How about the Mets and the Padres? That's the one I'm most excited for because, I mean, in game one, you've got Max Scherzer versus Yu Darvish. That's definitely the best pitcher-on-pitcher matchup in this entire wild card round. I know Scherzer and DeGrom over the last few weeks have been struggling a little bit, so the Mets fans are getting a little worried now that they let that division slip away after leading the NL East basically the entire season up to this point. So that one should be a lot of fun. So let's talk about all these teams now because you have 4 teams on byes. You have the Yankees and Astros in the ALDS on the AL side, and then you have the Dodgers and Braves, obviously the division winners going into the NLDS. So Which of these teams or any of the wildcard teams is just your team to watch this postseason, Brendan?
I think it's got to be the Cardinals. I mean, it's just been one of the most storied teams this whole year. They've got the old and the new. I mean, they've got Pujols breaking 700 this year, and then they've got Molina as well, been there for 20 years at this point. I think he's been on that team as long as the Mariners have been out of the playoffs at this point. So
has Pujols been around for as long, too.
And then they got two NL MVP candidates in Arenado and Goldschmidt. So they've got some really, really good players on this team. And I think it's going to be the Cinderella story. They're going to make it pretty far, in my opinion.
Wow, he has the Cardinals going pretty far. Alex, who's your team to watch?
As you talked about in your wild card matchup, I got the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays were my preseason pick to win the World Series. I mean, when you look at their lineup, they have so many great young hitters, and then also in their pitching core, they have a lot of really good pitchers that can take them deep in the playoffs. So I like the Blue Jays to make it pretty deep in this postseason.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing for the Blue Jays, for the Rays, any of these AL East teams, they just have to go through the Yankees. They have to beat each other up all season long to get to this point. So really impressive for the Blue Jays to be hosting a series going into Wild Card Weekend. So let's talk upsets. Let's talk sleeper teams. Obviously, we just got your sleeper team, but with these buys now, there's going to be so much upset potential, and that's what I'm most excited for. So who's on upset alert, and give me some sleeper teams.
I was getting ahead of myself there. That was my sleeper team, my upset team. Cardinals are going to win the first matchup pretty easy against the Phillies, but then going into the next round, going against the defending champ Braves, I think they're going to explode in that one. I think it's too perfect not for them to win this matchup. I mean, they're 10th in team ERA, they're 10th in average hitting, they've got the best fielding percentage, so they have great stats to back up this just beautiful storyline that has played out in this season, and I want to see them make it all the way. I want to see them go against the Astros, who I picked to be in the World Series on the AL side, but man, it's a tough one. I think they're going to lose to the Dodgers in the end there in the conference series, so make it past the Braves and then lose in the end.
He's riding with the senior citizen duo of Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina. Love that. Give me some sleepers and upset alert teams, Alex.
I do have one of my sleepers as the Blue Jays, but I've already talked about them. So another one, as you kind of briefly talked about, is the Mets. Of course, if the Mets can have their talent play up to the potential that we know they can in Scherzer and DeGrom, not only that, but the bats they have are also fantastic. So I think they do have a making of a roster that can go deep in the playoffs, but they do have to play up to their potential, of course, as we have seen them struggle a little bit. And then, of course, they would have to meet up with the Dodgers in the next round, which would be almost as like a death sentence. But I think that the Mets do have the making and a roster where they can make a deep run if they live up to the potential that we see them have.
Well, let's hit some World Series predictions here. Brendan, who do you have making it and who do you have winning it all at the end of this season?
I think most people have it Dodgers, Astros, just two of the most complete teams right now statistically, just all around great hitters, pitchers, everything. But in the end, I'm going to go with the Astros. I mean, these are two of the most experienced teams right now, but I think the Astros have a little bit more vengeance in the last 5 years after winning one in 2017, getting called out for cheating, and then coming back and losing 2 World Series after that. The Dodgers have won one as well and lost 2, but man, I'm really loving the Astros right now.
Alex, give me a quick pick.
I have the Dodgers, as you said, but I mean, look at the Dodgers, the most winningest team in baseball, and when you look at their roster top to bottom, they are stellar. It's hard not to pick them to win the World Series.
Well, arguably one of the best postseasons in all of sports, the MLB postseason, gets going tomorrow, my favorite time of year. Let's do this. Make sure to tune in next weekend again to Sportszone Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30, and stay tuned for NTTV News coming up next.
Get it.